In many respects, a strange hearing. Between the statistics and business speak, Afrikaans business in particular made some moving admissions and apologies about the past. It was also a very historic moment to see the powerful men from Anglo-American, the richest and most powerful corporation in South Africa, take their place on a Truth Commission platform. But despite the many dark suits and striped shirts, one could at times be forgiven for thinking this was a meeting of anti-apartheid movements, especially when powerful companies like Anglo and Barlow Rand claimed to have always opposed apartheid.
When the National Party came to power in 1948, it was also a major boost to Afrikaner business. The Truth Commission asked this week, did they benefit from apartheid and the National Party government that was running the country at the time?
The fact that whites have been advantaged within the private sector is undeniable. Now, with the advent of apartheid, I wasn't born yet, but especially the Afrikaner had a couple of simple choices. One either agreed, or you emigrated, or you tried to oppose the system from the inside. For quite a long time, the Nationalist Party viewed themselves as the permanent government. And then, the critical distinction between government and state disappeared. Therefore, any attacks on the Nationalist Party's racial policies became viewed as attacks on the state. Now, despite all of the above, did we do enough to fight apartheid? Did we do enough, as the BMF have correctly said, to advance black management? No. At the time, we certainly thought we did. In retrospect, one could never have done enough.
5.1 Steun vir afsonderlike ontwikkeling. Soos hierbo verduidelik,
5.1 we deal with support for separate development. As explained before, the AHI supported separate development in the belief that it would bring about acceptable results for all in the country. This it didn't do. Separate development in the end meant social engineering with brutal human costs and enormous wastage of resources.
What I can comment on is in our own industry, whether we as an Afrikaans-speaking, predominantly Afrikaans-speaking organization had advantages relative to our English-speaking competitors. And I believe no. I believe that we as white organizations had an advantage relative to disadvantaged organizations within the disadvantaged community. But I do not believe that there were significant advantages based on the language or the predominant language of the business organizations.
Eskom acknowledges that it did not behave as it should have in the past. For this, Eskom apologizes unconditionally.
But Afrikaner capital, even at its most powerful, was only a small part of the overall economy. The most powerful businesses and industries continue to be controlled by white English-speaking businessmen. In general, they denied that apartheid served them or they apartheid, and pointed instead at the past Afrikaner government.
I personally can perceive no definition of direct human rights violations which could possibly be attributed to business generally during that period. My view is that business could certainly have been seen to be doing more. But whether that would have had any effect on a government determined to hold its mistaken philosophy and power at all costs.
The reason it matters today is because it affects our unemployment rate. While ours is at 40%, theirs is at 8%. The reason it matters is because they own the economy and they're pushing for more inequality. The reason it matters is because we're living in absolute squalor as Africans. And 50% of Africans in South Africa live below the poverty line, and that's in 2015. The World Bank also agrees South Africa is the most unequal country in the world, and some people want us to celebrate this. There's nothing to celebrate here.